You know how fast things move in the world of crypto, right? Well, on January 23rd, 2025, the whole game changed, literally overnight. A new presidential order just dropped, and it didn't just tweak the rules for crypto in the US. No, it basically tore up the old playbook and threw it out the window. So in this explainer, we're going to break down exactly what this all means.
And look, this wasn't some tiny little policy tweak. To really get your head around how massive this is, just ask yourself this question. What would happen if the US government decided to ban its own digital dollar? Sounds crazy, right? Well, thanks to this new order, that's not a hypothetical question anymore. It's real. Let's dive in.
All right, so here's our roadmap. We'll kick things off with what this new policy is all about. Then, we got to talk about what it replaced. The out with the old part. After that, we'll get into the new mission, the 3 big pillars of change, and finally, the big one, what happens now?
Okay, so first up, the new policy. This is the single executive order that really just changed, well, everything for digital assets here in the States.
So, it all went down on January 23rd, 2025. And get this, the name of the order itself tells you everything you need to know about the new attitude. It's called Strengthening American Leadership in Digital Financial Technology. See that? This isn't about being cautious or playing it safe anymore. This is about America trying to lead the charge.
Now, to really appreciate how huge this shift is, you got to understand what we just threw out. This creates a really clear before and after picture for U.S. crypto policy.
So, for almost 3 years, policy was shaped by this one thing, Executive Order 1467. That came out way back in March 2022. Then, a few months later, the Treasury released this framework all about responsible development. But now, as of January 23, 2025, poof, that whole structure is just gone.
And they weren't subtle about it either. There's no room for interpretation. The new order has this one super direct and powerful sentence. The old order is hereby revoked. That's it. It's a clean break, a total pivot in our national strategy, and it happened in an instant.
Okay, so the old rules are out. What's the new mission? Well, it pretty much boils down to 3 key ideas: leadership, liberty, and clarity.
And you can see the shift just by looking at the language they used. The old policy was all about ensuring responsible development. That sounds kind of cautious, right? Almost hesitant. But the new one, it's all about strengthening American leadership. That's a huge change in tone. It's moving from defense to offense, from being careful to being proactive and pro-growth.
So, what's the new game plan? Well, at its core, the new order wants to support the growth of digital assets, but responsibly. It also makes a big point of protecting individual liberty, your right to hold your own keys, what we call self-custody. The plan is to also promote the US dollar's role in the world through stablecoins, and, this is a big one, finally provide some regulatory clarity. And maybe the most headline-grabbing part of all, protecting Americans from a government-controlled central bank digital currency, or CBDC.
Okay, so that's the mission. But what does it all mean in practice? What's actually different? The whole new order really comes down to 3 huge pillars that are set to completely change the game for crypto in America. Let's break them down.
All right, pillar number 1. This is a big one. It's a full-throated embrace of private digital assets. We're not talking about just tolerating crypto anymore. This is about the government actively stepping in to protect your right to use it.
So what rights are we talking about? Well, the order specifically lays out the right to access and use public blockchains, the right for developers to build software, and for people to participate in mining and validating networks. And here's the kicker. It explicitly protects your right to transact without being unlawfully censored and your right to maintain self-custody of your own assets. That is huge.
Okay, on to pillar number 2. And this is where things get, well, pretty dramatic. Because while the order is all about embracing private crypto, it does a complete 180 on the idea of a public, government-run digital dollar.
What we're talking about here is a CBDC, or a Central Bank Digital Currency. So what is that exactly? Simply put, it's a digital form of money that's a direct liability of the central bank. It's not like the money in your bank account today. This would be more like the government itself having a direct view, a direct ledger of every single transaction.
So why the hardline stance against it? Why ban it? The order doesn't mince words. It calls a CBDC a direct threat to three things: the stability of the financial system, your individual privacy, and the sovereignty of the United States. That is a really strong, definitive statement, especially when you see so many other countries going down that exact road.
And that brings us to pillar number 3. This one is all about execution. How do you make all this happen? Well, this isn't just a piece of paper with some nice ideas. The order actually creates a brand new, high-powered government task force to turn this radical shift into reality.
It's officially called the President's Working Group on Digital Asset Markets. And its job is simple: recommend the new rules and laws to make all this work. And just look who's on it. It's chaired by a new special advisor for AI and crypto, and the members include the Secretary of the Treasury, the Chairman of the SEC, the Chairman of the CFTC, and the Attorney General. We're talking about the biggest players from all the key agencies. This is a serious effort.
So there you have it. A new policy is on the books, a new task force is in charge. So what happens next? Well, things are about to move very, very fast. The order sets some incredibly tight deadlines. We're talking about a real race against the clock.
This new working group has a very clear to-do list. Step 1. Within just 30 days, they have to map out every single existing regulation that touches digital assets. Step 2. Just 30 days after that, so by day 60, they have to come back with recommendations on what to keep, what to change, and what to just toss out. And then, step 3, by the 180-day mark, they have to submit a final report to the president, complete with a proposal for a brand new framework.
And that final report, the one due in 180 days, needs to deliver two really big things. First, that new federal regulatory framework for digital assets and stablecoins. But second, and this is a really interesting little detail, it has to include an evaluation of creating a national digital asset stockpile. The idea is to use crypto that's been seized by the government. I mean, that's a completely new way of thinking about federal assets.
And the stated purpose for this whole whirlwind of activity? It's pretty straightforward. It's to finally achieve regulatory clarity and certainty. That's the goal. That's the finish line that everyone is sprinting towards right now.
But that brings us to the final and maybe most important question. You've got a 180-day deadline to build an entire regulatory framework from the ground up, one that has to juggle innovation, security, and liberty. So, will the final result be that clarity everyone's been hoping for? Or is this just a frantic race against time that might end up creating more confusion? I guess we'll have to wait and see.